The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines. The President instructs the officials to provide speedy relief for the people affected by the inclement weather condition. At least 3 persons have died so far due to the prevailing inclement weather conditions, which had resulted in floods in several areas. The Premier has advised the officials to expand the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the Northern Province farmers. It is stressed that with the present programs being implemented, positive hopes can be kept regarding the economy of the country. The defence authorities have called upon private gun holders to renew their firearm licenses before December 31st or risk facing stiff fines. 3-week lockdown announced in Uganda for 2 districts due to Ebola. Namibia won the first match of the T20 Championship played between Sri Lanka by 55 runs. Local stories in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe instructs the officials to provide speedy relief for the people affected by the inclement weather condition. The Finance Ministry will provide necessary funds in this regard. District secretariats have also been given instructions to get the support of Disaster Management Centre when necessary. The support of the Tri-Forces can also be obtained in this regard. More than 61,000 people in 52 divisional secretariats have been affected from the inclement weather. The bad weather have affected 11 districts in the country. At least 3 persons have died so far due to the prevailing inclement weather conditions, which had resulted in floods in several areas. The water level of the Kudaganga, a tributary of the Kallu River, has risen to the level of a major flood situation in the Millakanda area. The Irrigation Department said in its early morning report that the water level is continuing to rise. Meanwhile, the water levels of several rivers, including the Kalaniya, Ging, Nilwala and Attanagalu rivers, are also increasing. The water level of the Attanagalu River has also risen to a minor flood situation in Dunamale. Flood alerts have also been issued to several areas along the Kalaniya, Ging, Nilwala and Attanagalu rivers. Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology says the prevailing heavy rains across the country are expected to continue due to the influence of the intertropical convergence zone located in the vicinity of the island. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has advised the officials to expand the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the Northern Province farmers. The Prime Minister gave this advice when he chaired a follow-up meeting on the empowerment of Gramaniladari divisions as a centre of economic revitalisation, and the National Food Security Programme was held on Thursday at Temple Trees, Prime Minister's office said. When the harvest distribution is regular, everyone benefits. If there is a surplus of certain products, it can be solved by crop diversification, the Premier pointed out. The functioning of the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the farmers in the Northern Province was further discussed. Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration and Home Affairs, Priyantha Mayadunne, says that with the present programs being implemented, positive hopes can be kept regarding the economy of the country. State properties should be managed well during the next 15 months. Increasing the manufacturing process in the ground is the best possible option. More harvest can be obtained through various methods. The Secretary said that developing home gardens will help to increase the food security in the country. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with the local stories, The defense authorities have called upon private gun holders to renew their firearm licenses before December 31st or risk facing stiff fines. A senior official of the Ministry of Defense said yesterday there are over 35,000 firearms held by private citizens and organizations, and the bulk of the weapons are in the 12 and 16-bore shotgun category. More of the weapons are held by farmers, meant to protect their crops from wild animals, wealthy land and estate owners and private security providers, the official said. He said that if these persons fail to adhere to the December 31st deadline, they would face stiff fines and the police will thereafter seize the weapons. To conclude the local news, the headlines again. The President instructs the officials to provide speedy relief for the people affected by the inclement weather condition. At least 3 persons have died so far due to the prevailing inclement weather conditions, which had resulted in floods in several areas. The Premier has advised the officials to expand the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the Northern Province farmers. It is stressed that with the present programs being implemented, positive hopes can be kept regarding the economy of the country. The defense authorities have called upon private gun holders to renew their firearm licenses before December 31st or risk facing stiff fines. That ends the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
State Minister of Media Shantha Bandara said President Ranil Wickremesinghe is keen on delivering on his promise to the Aragalaya activist to set up a People's Council system and giving it a legal mandate. He added that the President is determined to fulfill his pledge before the next local government election. State Minister Bandara added that the President recently directed the Cabinet, State Ministers and the authorities to hasten action to set up a Jatika Jana Sabha Secretariat. The Cabinet approved President Wickremesinghe's proposal to set up the Jatika Jana Sabha Secretariat on October 11th. With regard to drafting laws to legitimize the Jatika Jana Sabha Secretariat, Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa said they anticipate a coordinated effort from President Wickremesinghe and Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena in this connection. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight, the Sri Lanka Navy has 36 relief teams ready to provide assistance to people affected by inclement weather in several areas of the island. Following the instructions of the Navy Commander Vice Admiral Nishantha Ulugethanna, the Western Naval Command has dispatched 2 relief and rescue teams to Ratnapura and 4 to Kalutara. 21 more relief and rescue teams in the Western Naval Command and 9 similar teams in the Southern Naval Command have been kept alert in case of a quick deployment. That ends Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
We give you the strength to rise higher and higher.
Never step back, but always march forward.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Headlines of the world news. Gunshots and sirens heard at Iran's notorious detention center. 3-week lockdown announced in Uganda for 2 districts due to Ebola. Russia deploys new military satellite. A major fire broke out on Saturday at Iran's notorious Evin prison, known for housing political prisoners, journalists and foreign nationals. Videos shared online showed flames and smoke at the site in Tehran, and gunshots and explosions could be heard. An official quoted by state media said the situation was under control, but video footage appeared to show the fire continuing after this. Iran has been gripped for weeks by anti-government protests. They first erupted last month after the death of the 22-year-old Kurdish Iranian Mahsa Amini in police custody. Officials said She died of a heart attack, but her family disputed this, saying she was beaten by morality police. A 3-week lockdown has been declared in 2 districts of Uganda as the country battles an Ebola outbreak. Bars, nightclubs, places of worship and entertainment venues will be closed in Mubende and neighboring Kasanda, and a curfew will come into force. The move is a U-turn for Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni, who previously said there was no need for such measures. This latest outbreak has killed 19 people among 58 recorded cases. However, the real number of deaths and cases may be higher. The outbreak began in early September in Mubende, about 50 miles from the capital Kampala, and has remained the epicenter. A classified military satellite designated Cosmos 2560 was launched from the Plesetsk military cosmodrome in Russia. Launched on the smallest carrier rocket of the Angara family, the spacecraft successfully reached orbit, soon after establishing a radio link with the Mission Control Center and reporting all systems functioning after deployment, the Defense Ministry said in a brief statement. The Russian military said the payload was designated Cosmos 2560, but shared no details of the mission or technical capabilities of the satellite. A similarly secretive launch of the Angara 1.2 with another military satellite was conducted from Plesetsk back in April. To end the world news, the headlines again. Gunshots and sirens heard at Iran's notorious detention center. 3-week lockdown announced in Uganda for 2 districts due to Ebola. Russia deploys new military satellite. That ends the world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
Amidst all challenges, we will rally around you and advance.
In the face of hardships, let's stand strong together.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Moving on to development news. The Prime Minister, Dinesh Gunawardena, has advised the officials to expand the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the Northern Province farmers. The Prime Minister gave this advice when he chaired a follow-up meeting on the empowerment of Grama-Niladhari divisions as a centre of economic revitalisation, and the National Food Security Programme was held on Thursday at Templetrees, Prime Minister's office said. When the harvest distribution is regular, everyone benefits. If there is a surplus of certain products, it can be solved by crop diversification, the Premier pointed out. The functioning of the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the farmers in the Northern Province was further discussed. That ends development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
With many values that bind us beyond the transaction, we are Sampath Bank. We present your future.
And in sports news, Namibia won the first match of the T20 World held between Sri Lanka by 55 runs. The match was played in Geelong, Australia. Sri Lanka won the toss and chose to bowl. Batted first, Namibia scored 167 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. In reply, Sri Lanka were all out in 108 overs in 19 overs. Only 4 players were able to score 2-digit scores. The highest score for Sri Lanka is 29. That ends sports news.
A special interest rate of 15% on savings certificates opened in October. Prarthana for children, Prarthana Plus for adults. NSB Prarthana, your dreams realized.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And on business news, visitors to the Lotus Tower have exceeded 150,000 spectators and will reach a revenue of 100 million rupees. Lotus Tower, the tallest building in South Asia, which was opened in the public on September 15, 2022, has had an income of over 90 million rupees earned up to October 15th, 2022 through ticket sales and from food outlets that are situated inside the premises. Over 162,648 spectators visited the Lotus Tower from September 15th to October 15th. Chief Executive Officer of Lotus Tower Private Limited, Major General, retired, Prasad Samarasinghe said that they do not expect any government assistance for the maintenance of the Lotus Tower and hope to complete the work with the income generated by it. As a result, he appeals to the public to keep the area clean and not damage the property. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
When I grow up, I'll fly to the moon somehow.
Envision your future now. NSB Prarthana will show you the path to your dreams. This Thrift Month, open a savings certificate. It's a long-term investment on your future with great returns. A special interest rate of 15% on savings certificates opened in October. Prarthana for children. Prarthana Plus for adults. NSB Prarthana. Your dreams realized.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
In economic news, Sri Lanka's Tourism Minister Harin Fernando met officials of Qatar Airways and Fly Dubai on Wednesday. This is to attract football fans that plan to travel to Qatar for the FIFA World Cup later this year by serving as their transit or accommodation point. The World Cup will be held in Qatar from November 20th to December 18th. That ends economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking. LOLC Finance will continue to innovate with the next generation digitalization of financial services, delivering a superior customer experience.
And finally, the weather report. The Met Department predicts heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces and in the Galle and Matra districts. It added showers or thundershowers will occur elsewhere over the island during the afternoon or at night. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places. That ends the weather report. And to conclude this bulletin of news, the headlines again. The President instructs the officials to provide speedy relief for the people affected by the inclement weather condition. At least 3 persons have died so far due to the prevailing inclement weather conditions, which had resulted in floods in several areas. The Premier has advised the officials to expand the mechanism of purchasing and distributing the products of the Northern Province farmers. It is stressed that with the present programs being implemented, positive hopes can be kept regarding the economy of the country. The defence authorities have called upon private gun holders to renew their firearm licenses before December 31st or risk facing stiff fines. 3-week lockdown announced in Uganda for 2 districts due to Ebola. Namibia won the first match of the T20 Championship played between Sri Lanka and Namibia by 55 runs. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.